In the middle of Inner Mongolia, a city appeared before its people did. The avenues were wide, the plazas were polished, the towers were new. But for years, something essential seemed missing. This was Kangbashi, the new district of Ordos, a place built with the confidence of a boom and the silence of an unfinished promise. To outsiders, it became one of the most famous ghost cities on Earth. But the truth was stranger than a simple ruin. Kangbashi was not an ancient city abandoned by war, plague, or disaster. It was a future built too early. The story begins beneath the grasslands, where coal turned Ordos from a remote region into one of China's richest resource cities. During the early 2000s, coal wealth transformed local ambition. Money flowed into roads, government buildings, cultural landmarks, and real estate. Officials did not imagine a small extension of an old city. They imagined a new civic center, a planned urban stage for the next century. Kangbashi was designed with monumental confidence. Huge boulevards, public squares, museums, theaters, libraries, and apartment blocks waiting for residents. But cities are not made of concrete alone. A city only becomes real when daily life begins to repeat itself there. At first, the repetition was missing. Morning traffic was thin. Storefronts opened slowly. Apartment windows stayed dark. The emptiness was visual, immediate, and unforgettable. It looked like a metropolis paused before the first scene had begun. Foreign reporters arrived and found a landscape that felt almost impossible. Modern towers rising over silent streets. The label spread quickly. Ghost City. It was dramatic, easy to remember, and visually powerful. Yet that label captured only one moment in a much longer experiment. Kangbashi had been built on a wager that infrastructure could come first and population would follow. This was not random construction. It reflected a model of urbanization where roads, schools, offices, and public symbols prepare the ground for growth. The risk was that the city might look complete before the reasons to live there became strong enough. In the early photographs, the most haunting thing was not decay. It was cleanliness. The streets were not broken. The buildings were not crumbling. The city was too new to feel alive. There were parks without crowds, bridges without traffic, and vast civic spaces where footsteps seemed too small for the architecture. This is what made Kangbashi visually unforgettable. It looked less like a ruin than a prophecy with no audience. The old urban center of Ordos was Dongshan. Kangbashi was built southwest of it, planned as a new political and cultural center. Moving a center of gravity is never simple. A city can move offices faster than it can move habits. People need jobs, schools, shops, neighbors, transport, memories, and the invisible confidence that a place will last. Kangbashi had buildings. What it needed was rhythm. The coal boom made the vision possible. But resource wealth is never a stable foundation for certainty. When coal prices weakened and China's property market shifted, the dream of endless expansion became harder to sustain. Some plans were scaled back. Some apartments stayed empty. Some investors waited for values that did not rise as quickly as expected. The city became a mirror for a larger question. What happens when development outruns demand? For critics, Kangbashi looked like proof of overbuilding. For planners, it was a city still inside its first chapter. Both views contained part of the truth. A ghost city can be a failure, but it can also be a photograph taken before the population catches up. The danger of the myth is that it freezes a place in its emptiest year. Kangbashi did not remain exactly as the first images suggested. Over time, residents arrived, schools opened, businesses operated, and civic life began to gather. By the 2020 census, Kangbashi district recorded nearly 120,000 residents, far more than the early ghost city image implied. That number did not erase the original ambition. It also did not fulfill every early dream. The mystery is found in the gap between the scale of the plan and the speed of human settlement. Walk through Kangbashi as an image, and you see vastness. Study it as a process, and you see time. Every empty street asks the same question. Is this failure, or is this a city waiting for its own clock to catch up? The architecture was built to persuade. Museums rose like monuments. Government buildings projected permanence. Squares offered a sense of civic destiny. But architecture can invite life. It cannot manufacture belonging overnight. The most important material in any city is not stone, glass, steel, or concrete. It is trust. People move when they believe a place can give them work, status, safety, opportunity, and a future for their children. Kangbashi had to earn that belief after its image had already gone global. The irony is that the empty streets became the city's most famous export. Photographers and filmmakers found surreal beauty in the silence. Endless boulevards, untouched facades, ornamental squares under enormous skies. The images traveled faster than the residents did. To international viewers, Kangbashi became a symbol of China's rapid urbanization and the risks hidden inside it. But inside China, new districts often develop differently from older Western cities. They can be planned in advance, filled in stages, and judged over decades. That does not mean every project succeeds. It means the timeline is part of the story. Some places built ahead of demand eventually become normal. Others remain hollow. Kangbashi sits in the uneasy space between warning and transformation. The city also reveals how modern power expresses itself through scale. A vast square says the future is certain. A silent square says certainty can be expensive. Every avenue, every empty tower, every illuminated cultural building became evidence in a debate about progress itself. Was Kangbashi a monument to ambition or a monument to impatience? The answer depends on when you look. In its early years, the city looked like an urban stage without actors. Later, it began to look less impossible, more inhabited, and harder to dismiss. This is why the story matters. Kangbashi challenges the way we judge cities from a single frame. A ruin tells us what ended. A ghost city tells us what has not yet begun, or what may never fully begin. The most cinematic part of Kangbashi is not emptiness alone. It is expectation. Every silent window suggests someone was imagined there before anyone arrived. Every plaza suggests a crowd that planners could see long before the crowd existed. In that sense, Kangbashi is not only a place. It is an argument made in concrete. It argues that the future can be prepared, accelerated, and built at monumental scale. But the human answer comes slowly, one household, one shop, one school, one routine at a time. Today, the simple phrase "ghost city" is no longer enough. Kangbashi is a city that was once too empty for its architecture and may still be too large for its original dream. Yet it is not frozen in abandonment. It is moving slowly through the long afterlife of a boom. The billion-dollar question remains. When a city is built before its people arrive, how long do you wait before calling it a failure? In Ordos, the answer is still unfolding across wide streets, bright facades, and a skyline that arrived before the crowd. The Golden Atlas does not find a dead city here. It finds a city caught between vision and vacancy. And somewhere inside that silence, the future is still trying to decide whether it was promised too soon.